Hi, I'm Sally Tebow, and welcome to this week's episode of the Midlife Reimagined Life Beyond Menopause podcast. I know you're going to love this session today. My interview with Krista Barry. She's a midlife positive psychology practitioner, neuroscience-informed coach, surf coach, and researcher based on the Gold Coast in Australia. A former elite world ranked swimmer, Krista's early sporting career shaped her lifelong relationship with discipline, embodiment, resilience, and water, and foundations that continue to inform her work today. She holds a Master of Applied Positive Psychology and is a published researcher, her work exploring midlife women's well-being through structured surfing programs. Her research translated through directly into real-world programs that integrate positive psychology, neuroscience, and nature-based connection, helping women rebuild physical confidence, self-trust, and a sense of agency through major life transitions. Now she's in her late 50s and a mother of 3 sons and a grandmother. Krista brings both professional expertise and lived experience to conversations about aging, menopause, identity, and self-trust. She's the founder of Godfathers of the Ocean Surf School, which has been operating for 25 years, and Goddess of the Ocean. She also runs Flow Like Water Academy, which is where her work as a positive psychology practitioner and researcher and neuroscience-informed coach all comes together. I know you're going to love this episode with the wonderful Krista Barry. Krista, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast.
Thanks, Sally. I'm grateful to be here and I really appreciate you asking me on.
You're welcome. Krista, I just in the introduction introduced the amazing things you've been doing over the last couple of years. And we talk about positive psychology. Can you explain what that is and how you got into researching positive psychology?
It was actually, I was speaking with yourself, Sally, a couple of years before I ventured into that. I was watching on social media, it came up on my feed, a lady called Carolyn Adams Miller, and she was speaking about goal setting and, a lot of, she'd had just written a book and it really resonated with me when I heard her speaking. There was a lot of things there that reminded me of things from my childhood years when I was a swimmer. And she was going down to Melbourne at the World Congress for Positive Psychology. And she was doing a workshop down there. So I took myself down there and I went into that workshop and completely fell in love with positive psychology. That was where I came across positive psychology. Ironically, a lot of things in positive psychology had a lot of similarities with the mindset of athletes and how we have to prepare ourselves and just that journey that we go on where we don't even realize that we're learning all this resilience and discipline and then also going through different adversities of failing and getting back up again and learning about yourself. So I sort of fell in love with it when I was down in Melbourne, and it was Caroline who introduced me to it. She didn't mean to, I just happened to hear her speak. So I'm very grateful for that. Positive psychology, a lot of people think it's all about just being positive. It's really, from what I've learned from my research and studies, is working on where your start point and moving through all different things of learning how to manage our emotions, our thinking. A lot of people would say they already know it. They probably do it in their everyday life, but it's looking at things like perseverance and just, gratitude, sort of just flipping from seeing things from a different perspective and then sort of finding habits and skills to develop to work towards an overall well-being. So it's really about the overall well-being of a person, which has many elements and layers. So
Love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned athlete. Now, that's where you started really as a Olympic athlete?
Not Olympic. It was, I wished. No, I was world ranked swimmer at the Australian Institute of Sport for 3 years. I was quite a young swimmer going through the ranks at that particular time, and Australian champion in butterfly, world ranked in freestyle when I did distance swimming, but in that area at the Institute of Sport, most of my teammates went on to compete at the Olympics, win Olympic gold medals, and did some amazing feats there. And I think one of the things I've learnt from my swimming career, and I actually did work with you, is learning how to overcome that mindset of failure. Because we really think we set a measurement of, Olympics. That's our goals. We don't quite get there. And when you really look at it from a bigger perspective, you could be ranked in the top 12 or 10 in the world and not actually be at the Olympics because your country is so strong in that particular event. So they take 2 athletes per event. So there's many swimmers and many athletes in different sports who don't quite get there, but it's not because they're not capable or not good enough. It's just the fact that it's just how they do the selection. And that's a very difficult thing to overcome when you actually do retire, because you do sort of feel as though you have failed because that's your goal, but you have to look at other elements, and that's what I had to really learn, is look at other things that swimming brought me.
Yeah. And I guess that, we're recording this as the Winter Olympics are on, and I can't help thinking about a lot of Australian athletes who have made it to the Winter Olympics as a small group to choose from, rather than some of these big countries like Canada and the US and some places in Europe where winter sports are just what everybody does. I was just thinking that would be happening for some of the people who didn't make the Olympics, who are from the bigger countries, that could have been just as good as anybody else, but would have missed out. And then, so as far as an athlete goes, I mean, that must be really hard. You train for an event. You and I, we've talked about this before, and then you don't quite make it. Tell me what that does to you as a young kid in particular.
I think everyone's journeys, I think how they handle that's differently. For myself, I was numb for a while. I felt numb in myself. I didn't even know how to describe how I felt. Part of me knows that I did the best I could. When I look back now, I think if I was a little more mature, because I was quite young, I probably would have managed it better. I probably would have prepared better for it. But because I didn't have those skills or that maturity at the time, I really struggled with thinking what's my value. Like, I didn't really understand what you call yourself a swimmer. People say, "Oh, hi, I'm Krista and I swim," and you're labeled that. And then you have to separate that and find other elements. So I feel now I can see all the wonderful things swimming brought me as I got older. I had skills that I didn't even realize I had. They were just inbuilt from that sport. But and I think that awareness as training through. But I think a lot of athletes really struggle with this. If we were to do more research on it, you would find there's a bigger population of those who don't quite make it than those who make it. And I think that there are a lot that struggle with that transition, and who am I outside of that, and does that mean that I didn't succeed and I'm a failure, or whatever goes through their minds. So
and especially when they're young.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, and especially when they're young. I mean, I'm sure, if you're a little bit older, you can make sense of it, but if, the brain hasn't quite formed enough to make that, if that's all you've been doing since you were a little kid and then you don't make it, and that must be just really soul crushing.
It is. Yeah. And I think if I could go back in time and parent myself in a way, really have it's not that I needed other things outside of the sport, but understand that what I'm learning doing this sport, I'm going to be able to use later on. So you could balance it a bit that way. I mean, they may do that now, but back then we didn't have any of that mentoring in that area.
Gee, I hope so. So how is this now, that experience, and then studying positive psychology, did that have an impact on how you embrace this? No matter,
I think it was like therapy for me.
Yeah.
It was really like therapy for me because it was the first time I really went inwards and all the different I got asked a question couple of years ago about what I loved about doing my master's degree in it. And I said every subject was meaningful. I was so entrenched in learning. I was so valuable what I was learning, but I was so passionate because I resonated with it. But it was also helping me look at what I needed in myself to heal. And from all those years of swimming, it was really the studies of positive psychology that helped me really understand the value of what I got from my sport and how I can transition that into other things in life. And without studying that, I probably would still be a little bit, was trying to get to that point. But positive psychology, the subjects and learning that really helped me move forward and out of that and actually embrace, oh my Lord, I actually have learned so much about my sport and I learned so much about myself in the process.
That's fantastic. So now
Mm.
tell me about the surfing programs or the water programs that you're now running, and who are the type of women who are coming to those programs and what are they gaining out of it that you're seeing?
Yeah, there's a variety of different women. When I was I've had the surf school for 25 years. So over the years, I noticed, particularly the last 10 years, there was more movement of older women coming in. And when I say older women, this women over 30, 40. And then it was getting older. And I think the oldest lady had come, which was incredible. She was 75 or 76 years of age. And she was just so brave. But it was just, you could see the movement, the evolution of it. A lot of them were coming, the ones in their 30s or 40s, particularly 45 and over, either come through divorce, their children have grown up and they're looking for something for themselves, or the fact that their children have been learning to surf and now thinking, well, why aren't I doing this as well? I want to do this for me, and seeing other women doing it. So there was a lot of divorce, a lot of losing parents, needing to find something for themselves, just transitions in life. And what I loved watching the women come, which I had not saw, was the fact that they brought wisdom to the lesson. They were brave because they'd lived a lot. They've already had gone through adversities or challenges in their life. So the bravery and courage was already there. And that's what I picked up straight away going, they're not scared. Like they literally can't wait to get out there and try this. And I hadn't seen that in the the real younger ones, only like little kids who don't think like little kids do things because they're not quite, they're not judgmental of themselves. They just go do it. They really embrace that, but they were backing each other. They help each other out. I mean, it was incredible to see the women doing it, but they did come from more their transitions. They're transitioning through something.
Yeah. Because surfing's hard. I've tried it.
Can
I've tried it a couple of times.
It's not easy. It depends on the ocean too. You don't know what the ocean's going to do, so you have to be flexible. And where we teach at Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast, it can sometimes be very challenging, that beach break. And sometimes, and that's what I love, is that the women are going out there and I'm like, it's like 3 to 4 foot, and they've had a few lessons, but they wanted to do it. And when they come in, I'm like, that was pretty amazing. I think they shock themselves, and then they take that courage that they've done doing that achievement, and like they didn't even realize how brave they are themselves. That's that bravery they took into other areas of their life. So they brought it in. They allowed themselves that process of learning it and then pushing themselves a bit further and then taking it away with them. So it was, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I just the couple of times I've tried surfing, I'm exhausted. Get on the board, stand up.
Yeah, because I even get exhausted when I'm paddling on the board because it's different to swimming because you're in an upright position. So you're using different muscles and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here in Canada where it's actually 1 degree today. Being on a warm beach sounds phenomenal.
I think there's a nice spot in Vancouver Island somewhere
Pino.
Yeah.
It's a Pino, but it's water's still cold, Krista. It's not like the warm water on the Gold Coast. Even back those days when we lived there, it had to be about 22 or 23 degrees in the water before I'd get in. Here
I
it's
know. But the marine life would be amazing.
yeah, yeah. And I don't think we have very many sharks either. So you run an organization called Flow Like Water Academy, and you talk about being a neuroscience-informed coach and the researcher. So explain to me what that is.
Well, I studied neuroscience. It's really learning what's inside, like all different elements. It's how our brain works, why we do what we do, and about emotions. And so neuroscience I love neuroscience, but I work a lot with that, with the inside out approach. And it's your environment, your thinking, belief systems, and it's all intertwined. So it's sort of when work on a holistic point of view, if I'm working with someone, I'm looking at all areas of thing, not just specifically what their thoughts are, but what environments create those thoughts or where they originate from, and then adapting or adopting different things and habits to create new thoughts and habits and patterns and things. But it's all connected to how we're wired and how that wiring originated.
I love it. I love it. Worked together before, and it really does. I mean, it really impacts those, and those kind of the and but beliefs. I want this, but I want that, but that sort of is that little kind of tape that just runs. I know what I want, but I don't want. I don't want this, but and women do that. And I find a lot of women going through midlife as the brain begins to change through the lack of estrogen, that comes up a lot.
Yes.
About where we are. I mean, you talked about that woman in her 70s that's learning that surfing. Must have been time. I mean, do you see them going kind of in the water and go scared, or have you created a space where I can take it on?
Well, they definitely get scared. I think even if you're a good surfer, there are moments where you're going to get scared. But definitely, you see all of that when they're learning. And as I said, it all depends on the environment, because who you're with. So if the coach is really, knows how to coach women and understand their needs, so having that element, and then there's the safety of the conditions. So making sure that the women are going out in the safest area when we do choose the location at the beach. So we adapt the lesson to suit the individuals as well. There's one thing being brave, but we can't be reckless. We have to make sure that we create a safe, a safe environment for them. And so that requires all different other elements. But the women do, anyone who's in the ocean can be out there, and you've got thoughts. It's not just the wave, because you have to be aware of everything around you. It could be what's underneath, and so they might go somewhere else. So it's really, it's very exhilarating, I guess, in a way. And I think, and then one of the beauty parts is that you don't really have time to think about the worries of what you've got at home and other things. It gives that respite without realizing you're out there, because you have all these different elements you've got to think about. And then you go back in and you really feel replenished, not because you've just been in the salt air and in the ocean, but because you have had your mind tune out of all of the other things going on.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the ability to actually focus on something is so good for us anyway, because we're balancing life and social media and all those other stuff. And I know as you're talking about this, I can remember when I was learning how to surf. I didn't do very well. You have to be like, you can't think about anything else, although you have to watch where the wave comes and where you are and getting on, and is there anything underneath? Is there anything underneath there I'm going to step on? You talk about here in the notes that you sent me that you're passionate about challenging outdated narratives. I love this. That ask women to diminish themselves in midlife. When you have these women come into the school, do you see a sense of community? It exists outside of the water?
Yes, absolutely. It's sort of like a sisterhood, but because they're around other women, they get that opportunity once they connect, and you form a very quick bond when you're doing something like this, because you have each other's back. So straight away you're connecting with another woman because you're basically taking care of them, and that connection of doing that forms a bond. Women also get to separate themselves from being stigmatized as women. You should be at home, or you're this age. What are you learning to surf for? All these things. So they're out there doing something where it was one male dominated, and it still has a bit of that stigma going on.
Yeah.
That one, you're a beginner, so they also have that element to work with, and that they're at their age that they're at. And so when you see them doing this and they're doing it collectively as a group of women, that feeds off one another, and they really feel proud. So they're really taking that stigma off and getting out of their comfort zone and doing something where they can walk at home, whether they're at home or go into work, or I surfed today, and that's a real good topic to talk about, and they feel so proud, and in doing something that most people thought, that's for the young ones.
Yes. Yes. I mean, you
Mhm.
see these bronze, Aussies surfing.
Mhm.
I'm just reminded my sister cold water swims every day. She lives in,
Yeah, that's
and it started off for her. She just happened to be walking on the beach one day, and she saw a couple of women in the water, and they were giggling and carrying on. And she went up. She said, "Oh, do you guys do this all the time?" And they said, "Yeah, every morning. Come join us." It's now this huge group of women. And I
Mm.
watched her while she does this. She now goes into swim competitions, and she does.
Oh,
Yeah, and in the freezing cold, it doesn't matter what temperature, they go swimming every day. And I've just
yeah.
watched this incredible camaraderie develop from, they call them the cold water crazy when they're water in Melbourne, but watched how her kind of view of life has expanded. She
Mhm.
travels on her own now. She travels quite extensively, but they also go as groups. And on the summer equinox, 1st of January, they went swimming in Tasmania.
Oh, okay. That's become very popular, that 1st of January or Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Jump in the freezing cold
Yeah.
ocean out there.
They go naked.
Yeah.
They swim naked.
Oh,
There's like 30,000
that's
people.
liberating. That was the other thing. It's quite liberating for them, surfing.
Oh, you had no time to look at anybody else because you were just
Yeah.
so cold. Yes.
Everyone's racing in to get warm.
I love this. I love
Mm.
this kind of things that happen with women in midlife. You're saying here that, it's all about this resilience, and we're changing the narrative, which is what I love
Mhm.
about this. And you're talking about a program here called Connecting by Water. Is this the same program that you're talking about?
Similar.
Yeah.
The ladies program is learn to surf specifically, and then this connecting by water is more water immersion and connecting in and around the water. So we actually did that this morning, and and I get in the water, and there's no pressure. We do a little mindfulness, meditation, movement, and then we get into the water, and it's up to them. They can just come in and float, and they can learn to body surf, or they can do bodyboarding, or they can learn to surf. The whole goal of it is really just for women to get together, get comfortable in and around the ocean, and learn to play with it again. So what I love is that when we do it, we get in there and teaching them body surfing, because body surfing is so much fun. And I know sometimes I have to remember I'm a facilitator, because I fly off and go off, and I'm like, like I'm 5 again, and I'm flying different waves, and I'm like turning around and go, all right, I've got to get back to the because it's just so exhilarating, and it's different than being on a board as well. And being a swimmer, you're connected to the water. So when I feel the power of that wave carry, and you're immersed in it, it really is such an amazing feeling. And I want the others to feel that, and also learn how to ride with the wave and use their own body to carry themselves along that fun. Because you just laugh. I mean, even if you get dumped in the shore break.
Sand in the bathers. I was just
Yeah.
thinking, I wonder if some of these women were the ones that were sitting on the beach watching their kids do this.
A lot of them have. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot. And they just saw other women doing it and thinking, I might try this too. And you see there, what I love the most is particularly those who are in their 40s and 50s, and you see it because they're parenting, and they laugh, and the joy that they get because they're remembering what it's like to be young again and have all those responsibilities. I don't have to be mum at the moment, and I don't have to be wife or employee or whatever they got in their life. They can just remember what it's like to have fun. And water does it in most places. When you get in water, you forget, you get to, respite in some way. But it's even more fun when you're doing it with the other women and laughing and enjoying yourself.
Does body image come up in your work at all?
It has, I mean, in the research it did, and that's why having that safe environment where it's non-judgmental and no one's, everyone's just accepting of everybody. And that's really important. Creating that space for that to happen is really important.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking for a lot of women, sort of that age of 45, you start to be concerned about not having that big, the beach body. I hate that,
Yeah.
ready for the summer body. That just drives me
Yeah.
nuts. But I think for many women, especially if they go through menopause and perimenopause, where the body's actually changing, to get onto the beach in a pair of
Yeah.
swimmers must be sometimes hard to deal with. So it did come up in the research.
Yes, yes. And it was more that they would like to have a space where body image was not shamed. It was everyone's accepting of one another. So that it's really important that we create that space for
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
Yeah, and that's something that comes from, the early 20s even. I mean, I can still remember, wondering at 22 if I had my thighs were too fat or, it's kind of
Yeah.
drilled into us very early about, the type of body, the beach
Hmm.
body. And,
Yes.
and and that leads me to this next question. I always ask everybody that I'm speaking
Hmm.
to, tell me about your own menopause experience. What was menopause like for you as you went
Mm.
through it, being as athletic as you are?
Yeah, I got it late, and I think that had a lot to do with swimming and the amount of training that we did. I think it was more the tiredness and weight gain. I had a lot of issues with that, and really feeling tired. But I didn't really get a lot of the flushes or little, maybe a bit of sleep, not a lot, but it was mainly weight gain, and tired, feeling tired all the time. But I think what I found is that I was also going through, I was finishing my master's degree at the time. So my mind was actually distracted from it a bit, but I did find that, well, I don't actually, when I think back, I don't know how I got through that period because you have to I had to do a lot of thinking and writing, and so I'm amazed that I did that. Maybe I just pushed through it and didn't even realize, but maybe that's what exhausted me so much. But I think also you come to that, could feel a lot of things that I was holding back on. So I really, being someone, I knew what I wanted, and I had to tell you, like, yeah, there's something that's like freeing going through it. There's something inside of you. You get to this crossroads and it's like taking the chains off and that going through it, it just seems to happen naturally. You're not asking for it. It's just sort of, you're, you're speaking up more, probably is the word I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And you're a busy
Mm,
mom and grandmother. How many grandchildren do you have?
5.
I have one, and she takes up a lot of time. 5.
Yeah.
And that's when you're going through perimenopause and menopause and you have children and grandchildren and doing your masters and running a business,
Mhm.
that's extraordinary that we are able to navigate that time. Did you
Mm.
find you had to find a real balance between the family and what you wanted?
Yes, it was challenging at the times we were going through COVID too. So I would have to stay up late at night and do a lot of my research and the studies. But because I loved it so much, it's like anyone that says is I would have found the time, dove into it and wanted to do it. It was the first time in my life since swimming where I actually found something that I really loved. And so my self-motivation to do it pushed me through. Like, I didn't see it as hard. I saw it as I wanted to do it. I couldn't wait to do it. But then I had to adapt to the surf school or other work that I do. I was doing swim coaching as well. And then juggling the children finishing high school and my eldest who had children. So it was just, yeah, it was a juggle, but found I don't know how I found the way. I honestly, I don't know. I look back and think, I don't know, I was crazy.
But that's it, isn't it? Right? You
Nothing
just,
kicked in. Yeah.
yeah. And I think what you said there too about if you love it, if you've got that purpose and you found some way to bring together all that experience you had, that's the drive. And I think for a lot of women, when they get to this point in life, have yet to find what they love to do because they've always put someone else first, or they've done something because their parents said that'd be a good job, or that you climb the corporate ladder and realize you get up there and it's not what I want. And I think that's got a lot to do with it actually getting through. Is I do there's 10 principles of wellness, and one of the principles is to live purposely. When you find the purpose, and the fact is you've got life experience behind you. I always think university is wasted on 18-year-olds. I think we should all be 45 or 50 when we go to university. Not for fun.
Yeah.
There's that drive, isn't there? That just figure it out. You just figure it out.
Absolutely. Because I did my master's later on, as you know, and everything that I'd learned, I think the wisdom, when you're going through menopause, wisdom kicks in and you kind of know. It's just that you've got to find that space to listen, because we get so layered with everything, and then you have different voices and different people telling you what you should be doing and you really need to find that time to really sit still and listen, or go for nature walks and do that. And it's amazing what a nature walk can do if you do it regularly, because you don't put headphones on, just allow yourself to be in that space. And the thoughts come naturally. Something comes up. It's hard to explain, but I felt like that's, for me, it was like, I just know. And you just know.
Yes. Yeah, we had friends here this weekend, and we went for a walk through Stanley Park, and I was saying exactly
beautiful.
that. There's something about when I'm in Stanley Park, it's the quiet I love most of all, and the realization I'm walking on soil that's like thousands of years old, created from all these trees and the fallen trees and the leaves. And there's something about, I think that's, especially when you get into that midlife stage where we are so pulled in numerous directions, that getting out in nature, and you must feel that in the water too, that connection.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's one of the main things, I think, is being in a natural environment. Because it gives you, I know that because I love Canada, and I Stanley Park, and then when I went to Whistler and walking around up there, and Vancouver Island, it's like you've everything. It just brings everything into perspective. It's so grounding, and the ocean's the same. It's so grounding because you're away from the land. So for one, you're out there in this environment. And it really puts perspective on how we dwell on the little stuff. I feel like we make the big things, but when you're out there, it's just like, this is life. Like, we are part of it, of this environment, and we forget that sometimes.
Yeah. Krista, if you could talk to that, I'm not going to say 30-year-old self, I'm going to talk to your 15-year-old self. If you could talk to her, what would you, that girl that didn't make the cut, what would you tell her now? If you could sit down next to her.
Learn from it and understand that this is part of life, and trying something and not quite getting what you want to achieve isn't a failure. It's actually that you were brave enough and had the courage to try it in the first place, and see that as the gift and use that to carry on. And, I don't take, I used to take things, like I care so much about other people that I was doing so much that I was leaving myself depleted. And so I had to learn that of caring for myself. That's not selfish. Having more self-compassion and learning the difference between self-compassion and being compassionate with others is different.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think, the thing that we come through, that's one of the things that happens when the estrogen starts to leave. We care less about the things that are not important and more about the things that really are. And women are such caring. We're just naturally caring people because of estrogen. The estrogen flies in when we're teenagers, and all of a sudden we're more concerned about what everybody else thinks about us. That's part of the caring hormone. So what would you say to a woman right now going through this? What was some advice you'd give her about how she navigates this time in her life?
Well, looking after yourself is really important in wellbeing, nutrition, exercise, and really looking at, if you're feeling like you're missing something, like we go through and we feel overwhelmed. I don't want to speak for all women, but we can feel overwhelmed. We're trying
Yeah.
to do everything. So really, look at every area of your life, but really go within yourself, spend that time, or get a mentor or someone to work with, but get out there. Even the social group that we do, there's really to start looking at what makes you happy, what things don't make you happy, look after your health, look after your mental health, move, sleep, drink water, all these things that people might think, oh, that's just so basic, but we don't do it. Because if I look back, I wasn't really doing all that.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like, oh, well, I can, if I find room for it, I will do it.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And yet it's like the bucket, you fill it up with the big rocks and then you've got room for the little rocks, because I know you and I are the same. My health is a priority now above all, because if you're not healthy, you can't be there for everybody else. And especially now you're balancing work and study and children. Your children are still going through things, and then you've got grandkids on top of that. I mean, it's a
Yes.
full life. Midlife is a full life.
Yes. And I think also reading your book would be amazing for people, women. But exercise strength work. I do know that when I'm actually really strong, I'm mentally strong. It's sort of like the
Yes.
stronger I physically, I don't mean endurance wise, I just mean strong. There's something that there's a connection with the mind. You feel strong in the mind. You have a little bit more resilience and towards things. You've got better coping mechanism. Like it really does connect. And I notice that when I'm not fit, when I'm not strong and having the strength with, I'm teary eyed. Like I'll break down over it. I'll cry over watching a movie, and I'm like it's like, get it together, Krista.
Krista, so what's next for you? What's
Mhm.
next for you now?
I haven't, well, growing. I'm enjoying growing and being a grandmama. I call myself, and really just embracing everything. I just love learning. I'm a lover of life and just learning all the time. So really growing as a person and sharing the wisdom as well, and looking after my health. I really, aligned with a company who do amazing at that, and I'm just so proud to be with them, and really embracing that into everything, because it's like a whole ecosystem, and everything that I do with work, whether it's the surf school or research on well-being and women and just helping people transition. Love to share that wisdom, but also help there. But also, I love to give that to my grandkids, just being there and just embracing each day. I'm grateful for each day. Galinda, I think, Hayes, I think you know Galinda, she does meditation and mindfulness and everything. And she facilitates the connecting by water with me and listening to my breath. Like when I do that, you realize she said something always profound, and I know we know this, but we don't really think about how grateful it is to be able to breathe. When
Mhm.
you hear going, that breath is life, and something as small as that really helps me when I'm going through a lot of things. I feel overwhelmed with a lot of responsibilities or being pulled everywhere. One minute you're going to be mum, then your grandmama, and then you've got to do work responsibilities and just life responsibilities. And sometimes there's nothing much left. Just taking that moment to breathe. So for me, I'd really love to write a book, and also help those who use water as a therapy, and because we have so much of it around here, and I
Oh, yeah.
think it's underused, but
Mm.
it's a powerful therapy, even just floating and just getting in the water. It has some magic to it.
Oh, it sure does. One of the things I do miss about not living in Australia is, just diving. We had a pool in the complex when we were living in, which was a freshwater pool. So they had
Mhm.
no chemicals or chlorine. And I can remember even in the wintertime, I used to love getting and just feeling that weightlessness. There's something really special about it. And I love what you
Yeah.
talked about, the breath, because I often think sometimes, if I breathe today, like you just
Yeah.
shallow breathing as you get through the day. And Like you, I am very into meditation. And so in the mornings when I'm doing my meditation, it really is focusing on the breath. And, sometimes I
Mhm.
wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just pop the meditation on. And next thing I'm awake 5 hours
Yeah.
later. It's just
Yeah.
that, and it doesn't cost anything. Meditation doesn't
No.
cost anything. I know the quote that someone said, if you can't find 20 minutes to meditate, you need to find an hour and 20 minutes to do it.
Oh.
Because
And for those who can't sit still, because I was one of those, and I found someone said meditate, and I'd be like, I got to sit still for 5 minutes. So I was like, moving meditation's really good too.
well, yeah, swimming. I mean, even training in swimming, I take my hat off to swimmers. That black line, when there's a black line, and just especially in the sport you were in, my gosh.
Yeah, I don't recall. I mean, I think there are times where I really didn't like the training session. Sometimes I feel like when I go to the pool and I see the coaches writing on the whiteboard for the swim team, and I go past, I'm like, oh, I feel like I got PTSD when I see that. But I hop in the water and I just love that feel of swimming through the water. But you can hear your breath, and I
Mhm.
think that's the beauty. That you don't have to go fast. Just enjoy hearing the breath work, and that's meditative in itself. So I enjoy that.
Krista,
But
I've
yeah,
really enjoyed this conversation with you. You're such a wonderful person, and thank you for the work you do. I love this positive psychology, and you must be
oh,
changing women's lives so simply in the water.
thank
Still,
you.
thank you for
Well,
doing that.
thank you so much for the kind words.
And
I think
I'll put in the show notes how people can reach out to you, and especially if you're you're just on the Gold Coast right now doing this
Mhm.
thing. But if you're on the Gold Coast and you thought, that sounds like I'd like to try that, because really, I know with my sister when I talked to her about cold water swimming, she said it was just I just needed something in my life. I just needed something, and it's gone on to be
Yeah,
now she swims in all these open races. I can't believe it.
and
Us
it's
the jellyfish.
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing that ocean water swimming. It's so popular, but swimming is so good as we age. It's probably one of the sports or activities to do that really can for
Yeah,
longevity. It's
absolutely.
incredible.
So many things you can
Mm.
do in the water when you're working against the resistance too, if you've got injuries or anything like that. And as you have
Yeah,
a lot of women, go through menopause to joint pain and frozen shoulder, it's a great place. Krista, thank you so much for
thank you,
being on this
Sally.
and bringing your energy to the show. I've really enjoyed having you. So thank you so much for the time. And as I said, I'll pop all Krista's details in the show notes so you can reach out to her and learn more about the positive psychology and the joy that water can bring to you. Thanks, Krista.
Thanks, Sally.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that podcast episode as much as I did. Krista is such a positive person, and her story and what she's doing now, getting a master's degree in her 50s and now helping women really expand their beliefs and what's possible. I think it's just so wonderful. If you're on the Gold Coast in Australia, by all means, reach out to Krista. It's so much fun. Surfing's fun. It can be scary. It's hard work. Boy, it's a good workout. But if you're looking for something that just, wants you want to do a little bit more, or you feel like you need to be around a great community of women, reach out to Krista. And remember to click subscribe so you get notification when our next podcast is released in the Midlife Reimagined Life Beyond Menopause podcast. Thank you for being with me. We'll see you soon.